My name is Brandon Kazen-Maddox. My name sign is the letter B in American Sign Language, tapped twice on the sternum, and sign language is my first language. My first word was the concept for moon. A white deaf teacher once told me that as a hearing person, I would need to know my place in the deaf community. As a Black, queer, hearing child raised in a white deaf family, the search for the sense of belonging has always been a central theme in my life. Both of my grandparents on my mom's side of the family are deaf. My mom, 2 aunts, and uncle are all hearing. They are children of deaf adults, or GODAs, which means their first language is sign language, just like mine. Since my grandparents are deaf, and I grew up in a culturally deaf household, the deaf community calls me a grandchild of deaf adults, or GODA, which means that I'm a third-generation heritage signer, and I learned how to think and communicate with my hands before developing any skills in spoken language. I like to say that I think with my hands, and my words are just along for the ride. At my grandparents' house, we ate all of our meals around the dinner table together. It was a beautiful and lively mixture of languages, spoken English, sign language, and simultaneous communication, or SIMCOM, which is what I'm using right now. My family uses all of these modes of communication so that everyone in the space, deaf or hearing, can understand what is going on at any given moment in time. Because I grew up in a house where everyone used both spoken and sign language, this is how I naturally best express my complete and most authentic voice. As a young person, I always considered ASL to be a gift, a magical, silent language that allowed me to communicate my emotions and thoughts almost telepathically to the signing members of my family, and to anyone else in the world who I would meet who also knew sign language. The older I became, the more I understood how this gift allowed me to become a bridge between the deaf and hearing communities. I would like to acknowledge that our world would not have American Sign Language without deaf people and their need and right to communicate in a visual, gestural way. Signing with our voice off shows the beautiful depth and breadth of the emotive power of ASL. It allows us to use all 5 parameters of its grammar: hand shape, movement, location, or where signs happen on the body and in space, palm orientation, and the subtle and powerful nuances of facial expressions. I will now turn off my speaking voice and show you the emotive power of ASL. My parents were both teenagers when I was born, and because they didn't stay together as a couple, it took both a deaf and hearing village to raise me. My father's side of the family are proud Black New York natives who moved to Vancouver, Washington before I was born. My father's mother, my Nana, taught me everything she knew about dance, theater, music, and performance in New York City. Nana and I would sit in front of the TV for hours watching That's Entertainment, and she would cheer me on as I tried to replicate the dance moves. Nana's house was always filled with music. She would tell me all about her life as a young Black girl in New York City and would regale me with stories about her trips to the Apollo Theater to see legends like the Supremes and Stevie Wonder. As an artist, my goal is to make art that both my white, deaf grandma and my Black hearing Nana can share and enjoy together. Those ASL music videos are part of our Soul Signs series. In Soul Signs, we collaborate with deaf and hearing artists who have their own unique relationship with sign language and music, and who share the same passion for passing on our collective ASL artistic legacy. Soul Signs was created by Up Until Now Collective, a company I co-founded in 2021. Our mission: to center stories of empathy, intimacy, and connection, and challenge the status quo by building new structures for artistic creation. Art, music, and sign language have always been a part of my life, and so has interpreting. I worked for 10 years as a professional interpreter, providing access for everything from Black Lives Matter protests, to deep house electronic dance parties, to BDSM consent workshops, to Jewish Shabbat services. Throughout my interpreting career, I strived to put myself in rooms that spoke of inclusivity, diversity, equity, and justice. You would not believe how many spirits have traveled through my hands and body. For me, interpreting has been both a career of service and survival, and providing accessibility for the people who helped raise me has brought me joy, security, and a true sense of community. However, as an interpreter, it is my responsibility to be the voice of other people. I was expected to remain neutral, unbiased in my opinion, and effectively unable to express my own personal voice. Expected to remain essentially a shadow. As an artist, I understand that it is my responsibility to use my voice to express myself in the most authentic way possible. And for me, sign language and music are essential parts of my voice. So I decided to forge a new pathway and focus on being an ASL artist, free to use my speaking and signing voice as an advocate and activist for my communities, free to make art that both deaf and hearing audiences can enjoy, and free to represent the spirit of the music through my entire body, mind, and spirit. I would like to share a gift with you all. Please, if you can, lift both hands and show me 2 big 5 hand shapes. This is a choose your own adventure moment, okay? Choose either your index finger and your thumb, or your middle finger and thumb, and link them together. This is the sign for connection. When we move the sign for connection, it becomes a sign for relationship. A relationship between you and I, and the bond that we all share together. And if we change the palm orientation to reference ourselves, it becomes the sign for belonging. What I have found over my experience is that it is not about, quote, knowing your place in any community, but much rather about finding it. I would like to leave you all today with a silent message channeled through the spirit of the legendary Miss Nina Simone.